Hello there! Hello there! Are you ready for a new adventure? Today we will travel to a magical place deep in the forest where the sun's rays barely manage to get through the thick canopy of leaves. There, nestled among the roots of an ancient oak, lives a grumpy gnome. Now, this gnome wasn't like the others. Oh no. While the other gnomes were busy spreading joy and happiness wherever they went, he was spreading grumpiness. He grumbled all day long. He complained about everything. And whenever the other gnomes tried to cheer him up, he would just snap at them and tell them to leave him alone. As you can imagine, no one wanted to be around such a grouch. All the other gnomes avoided him, and soon he found himself all alone. The grumpy gnome didn't mind being alone. In fact, he liked it. Finally, he could grumble and moan to his heart's content without anyone listening. But then one day something unexpected happened. Some nasty orcs attacked the gnome village. They were big and strong and mean, and before anyone knew what was going on, they had stolen all the gnomes' magic away. Without their magic, the gnomes became small and weak, and they knew they couldn't fight the orcs. They were too scared and too sad. As the orcs were making their way deeper into the forest, carrying the gnomes' magic with them, one of them tripped over a tree root and fell. The other orcs laughed at him, but he just sat there sulking. Then one of the braver gnomes, who wasn't too badly hurt, called out to him, "Hey, you, if you want, I can help you with that." The orc looked up, surprised. "You? What can you do?" The gnome puffed out his chest. "I might be small, but I know these woods like the back of my hand. Come with me and I'll show you a shortcut to the Orc King's castle." The orc thought for a moment. It would indeed be easier to get to the king's castle if he had someone who knew the forest to guide him, so he agreed. When they got closer to the castle, the little gnome told the orcs to hide him. Then, while the orcs were sneaking around, looking for a way in, he quietly opened a window and slipped inside. He crept through the corridors until he came across a large chamber. There, on a golden throne, sat the Orc King. On the table in front of him were all the gnomes' magic. The king was holding the biggest one, which belonged to the most powerful gnome, the Happy Gnome. With this magic, the king hoped to become invincible. But then suddenly, right in the middle of his evil plan, the grumpy gnome stood on top of the table and shouted, "Hey, you!" The Orc King jumped off his throne and roared, "Who said that? Who's there?" "It's me," said the grumpy gnome. "And I'm here to take back what you stole." The Orc King laughed. "You? How could one tiny gnome take on an entire army of orcs?" "With the power of friendship, maybe," said the grumpy gnome. Just then, the other gnomes burst through the door and stood behind the grumpy gnome. Together, they were stronger than the orcs. They used their magic to shrink the orcs and to grow flowers, trees, and bush. They made the orcs carry rocks and cut wood. They turned the Orc King's castle into a beautiful gnome village. The orcs felt ashamed for what they had done. They apologized to the gnomes and promised to never ever do anything bad again. From that day on, the grumpy gnome wasn't grumpy anymore. He had learned that even the smallest gnome can become a hero and that being happy is much better than being grumpy. The end. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Do you know any stories that you would like me to read? Please leave them in the comments below. I'll be sure to check them out.